All right, guys, we're live. We're trying into a new thing today. We're actually going live on multi platforms right now, working through one stream. So do bear with me. Today, we're talking about accountability, actually, self accountability. And accountability is the moment you realize that your common denominator in every area of your life is the moment your life actually begins to change. And that common denominator is you. Now, accountability is one of those things that I've always struggled with, that I've always had a hard time with because it's hard for me to take criticism and it's hard for me to step back and realize my role in my own um my own defeat. You know, what's where I'm going wrong and what I'm actually doing. And accountability is a tough one because no one likes to look in at themselves. No one likes to see the negative things about themselves or much less pull them out and look at them full force. Okay? Because that means change, and change is hard to do. Now, one question we need to ask ourselves is accountability a punishment or is it a freedom? And the difference is that punishment is something you don't want. Freedom is letting things go. Once you say those things out loud, once you get those things out there into the world, into yourself, it's like one thing that I did one time was I did this workbook. And I actually did this workbook 3 times. The first 2 times I lied about it. I wrote it what I thought people wanted to hear. But at the end of the day, when I looked in the mirror, I realized that I could lie to everybody else, but I can't lie to me. So the third time I actually got honest with it, the third time I actually found some real, real growth because I got honest with it and I looked at myself and I looked to see where I was the problem. And that goes into my everyday inventory. Every morning, I try and look at myself and figure out what I'm doing, what role I play in my own life. And it's taking responsibility in what I'm doing. And there's a difference between taking responsibility and carrying unnecessary shame. Okay. Because a lot of my outward anger comes from shame and guilt I feel about the things that I was doing wrong and the things that I did to hurt the situation. Owning your mistakes isn't saying things like I'm a bad person. It's saying I have the power to do something different about myself, to do something different than what I used to do, to figure out the role that we play in our own lives. You know, my daughter says something a lot of times that we're working through right now, and she says, "But I wasn't doing anything." Okay, but I wasn't doing anything, and 9 times out of 10, she actually is. And that's where the difference lies is that you can actually stop and say, I was doing something. And this goes a lot further than just listening to what other people say about you, listening to what people give you criticism or feedback or anything like that. This goes a lot further than just accepting what somebody else says and then getting resentment about it. Okay. It actually, it's actually freeing. It's actually a sense of freedom when these things come out because you're not a bad person. You know, a bad person is not wanting growth. And I hate to say bad, bad, good, bad, good. You know, it's too gray and too black and white. But rather than saying I'm a bad person, it's saying I want growth. I want to succeed. I want to take accountability for what I'm doing in my own life. Excuses feel good. Excuses feel really good until they become prisons. I don't have time for accountability. My wife doesn't support me. My parents messed up. My boss is the problem. I'll start Monday. These are all excuses. How many excuses have actually improved your life? None of them have. Oh, we only got no comments left. I'm learning how to use this one stream, so do bear with me. Um, I'm learning all the ins and out of it, seeing what's actually working, what's not. So I'm gonna check in real quick and see if I've got see if it's actually working. It is. So anyway, these excuses that we make, I'll do it tomorrow. I don't have the time for this kind of stuff. It's blaming other things, other entities or people for what we're doing. But if you look again, the common denominator in our life is us. we're the center of our life. And that's where the growth starts, is realizing that we have a major role in our life. Now, there's one thing that I like to do. It's called radical ownership. Okay. It's literally dissecting everything, because I don't just want to know what's wrong. I want to know what I can do about it, what I've played in the part. And you can't control what's happened to you. You can't control what people say, and you can't control how people treat you. But what you can do is you can always control your response. You can control your effort, your attitude, your next decision. Your response is your responsibility. It's our responsibility to determine how we're going to respond to someone's criticism, whether it be conflict with our spouse, whether it be conflict with friends, conflict with partners, even co-parenting. Our responsibility is our response. Our level of effort we put into it is also our responsibility. Okay? What we're going to do about it. You can just say, man, whatever, I'm not going to have anything to do with this. I don't want it. It's not my problem, not my monkey, not my circus. But your level of effort of how you're going to alter the situation is your response. And I always call it the moment. You guys have heard me talk about the moment before. The moment is the definitive point in any altercation or any interaction that can go two ways. Okay, you can either take the high road or the low road, and that's just what they are. Those are two choices, high road or low road. The high road is when you stop and say, you know what? Yeah, this is where I went wrong. This is where I could have done better. And stop and looking at it from the other person's perspective. That's the moment. To look inside yourself and figure out what you can do to get through this. Not over it, through it. And your attitude, 100% your responsibility. You can give your faces, you can give the snarls, you can give the side eyes, you can do anything you want to. But if you look at it head on, look them in the eye, and accept your role in a situation, that's growth. And no one's going to fault you for growth. And this doesn't sit there and say that you have to stop and be like, oh, you know what? This is all my fault. This is all my problem. I did it all. Da 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 da. It's not about that. Okay? It's about accepting what role we're playing. Accountability hurts your ego before it hurts you, before it heals you. Okay? It hurts your ego because it's hard. It's so hard when we're in these interactions or these discrepancies for our ego to allow us to say, I'm wrong. Imagine how many problems that you could solve with things like, I was wrong. I need help. I overreacted. I owe you an apology. I need to change. Try being upset. Try being angry at a situation and saying those words. I owe you an apology. I need to make a change. Try being upset and doing that. Your ego doesn't allow it to happen. So it takes strength. It takes motivation. It takes the bigger person to stop and say, I need to make a change. And I'm guaranteeing you, 9 times out of 10, when you're saying these things, the next person is going to just be like, what just happened? What just happened? Now, I'm going to tell you what accountability looks like as a father, because this is what my experience is between a father and a husband. Apologizing to your kids. You know what, guys? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have yelled. I shouldn't have raised my voice. I shouldn't have cursed. This is where dad could have done better. Keeping promises. If you promise you're going to take a kid out to the store, or you're going to take a kid to Disneyland or something like that, do it. Take the time and do it. Admitting when you lose your temper. That's a big one for us. You know, Abby, excuse me. What are you doing? My daughter just came in. Yeah, you can't go. Thank you, baby. Thank you for asking rather than just going. Admitting when you lose your temper, that's a big one for dads. It's hard for us to do. Because temper and anger gets results. Guys, stop. Be quiet. Guys, stop. Pick up your toys. Guys, stop. Be quiet. Pick up your toys. Guys, stop. Be quiet. Pick up your toys. You know, it gets results because eventually they're going to move. eventually they're going to do it. Okay? They're going to stop doing what they're doing and they're going to do what you ask them to do because you're screaming at them. But what does that do for your relationship? You know, it's crazy because trauma is subjective, right? Yelling can create trauma. And I'm telling you something else. Children will behave by your example. Children will do exactly what you are doing rather than what you tell them to do. You're not going to Taylor's because they have a babysitter. They have a babysitter right now. All right, I'm back. They're trying to go to the neighbor's house, and I don't know. They have a babysitter right now, so it's hard to. I don't know them, so it's just part of my. And that wasn't getting angry either. That was just being setting the boundary and staying with the boundary. There was no yelling. There was just the boundary. Okay. I don't think like something like that will actually require an apology because that's just a boundary. Now, I lost where I was here. Admitting when you lose your temper, modeling ownership instead of perfection. That's a big deal because a lot of us want to be perfect. A lot of us want to be the perfect version of ourselves, and perfection isn't real. Perfection is not something we're going to be able to accomplish. But modeling ownership of when we fall short, that's important. When you fall short, modeling the ownership. Saying this is where dad could have done better. This is where dad went wrong. This is where dad took the turn. Dads who show them how they recover from their mistakes are going to make it a lot further. Recovering from your mistakes. Include them in the reflection. When you go back and you're like, Dad, I shouldn't have yelled. Be like, do that in front of the kids. Tell them I shouldn't have yelled. Accountability in marriage is another one. Instead of saying you always try, what could I have done differently? You always do this. You always do that. What could I have done differently? Imagine if both spouses started there. What could I have done? How much communication would that breed? Another thing I deal with is recovery, accountability and recovery. You can't recover while blaming everybody else. I had this problem. I always said, poor me. Poor me, poor me, poor me, pour me another drink. Recovery begins when you stop asking, when did this happen or why did this happen to me? Start asking, what do I do now? What do I do to get through this? What is my role? I just can't because it's got a hold on me. You know, it's addiction. It's what it's got on me. It's okay because it's just the way I live. It's the way things are. It's the way things are to me. That's not how it works. You want to move forward. You want to grow. Every morning, ask yourself, where am I making excuses? Look in the mirror and do this. Where am I making excuses? What conversations am I avoiding? What habit is holding me back? And what's one thing I can own today? Every morning, do that. Look yourself in the mirror because you know what? In that mirror, you can lie to everybody else. You can lie to every person on earth, but you can't lie to yourself because at the end of the day, you understand, you know where you can lie and what you said to yourself to get through. Accountability, it creates freedom. When you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to lose. People think accountability limits freedom, stops you from doing things. It actually creates it. When you own your choices, nobody controls your attitude. Nobody controls your future. Nobody controls your growth. And that's important to understand. Your life stops depending on everyone else changing first. You make the changes. You own what you're doing. You take responsibility for what it is that you're falling short on. All right, we got some questions for you guys. And I want to ask you this, and feel free to comment in. What's one excuse you've finally gotten tired of hearing yourself say? One excuse for me is I'll do it tomorrow. That's one I hate. I hate saying that. Because it's just me being lazy. And I understand that I'm being lazy and I want to move forward. I want to get this done. I don't want to be lazy today. What's one decision that changed your life because you took ownership? My addiction. Clearly. I did it because I felt that it was necessary for me. Poor me, poor me, poor me. Once I took ownership of that and realized that it was me that was causing the trauma, causing the chaos in my life, I was able to finally put it down. Now, who taught you accountability growing up? Me, I didn't have the best examples of accountability. So it's something I had to teach myself. Is accountability getting harder or easier in today's culture? What do you think? Have you ever received an apology that truly changed your relationship with somebody? And what's one thing you'll take ownership of before you go to bed tonight? Answer that in the comments. Answer one of those questions in the comments. Personal accountability is about beating yourself up. It's about believing you're powerful enough to change. The day you stop waiting for someone else to fix your life is the day you become the man your family has been waiting for. Progress starts with one sentence. That one's on me. And that's not weakness, that's strength. That one's on me. That was my fault. I can do better. That's hard for someone to say, especially when your ego's in play. So put the ego aside, set yourself up for success, and take accountability for your role in your own life. Have a great day, guys. Again, take what you want, leave the rest. Thanks for watching.